Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News.
Good afternoon. We're about to hit 12:30. Bill Bryan and Barbara Bailey for WKYT. There is a winter weather advisory in effect for parts of Kentucky.
WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris is in the First Alert Weather Center now, tracking what areas are under the advisory, what we can expect on First Alert Defender. Micah.
Yeah, and what we're seeing is the same area, what we saw last night and into early this morning down toward the southeastern zones. It's just another area that's not seeing anything right now. I wanted to show you that on First Alert Defender Live Radar. This really goes into effect at 7 p.m. tonight through tomorrow morning. Now, this is a winter weather advisory. This is more of just mainly a heads up. Heads up because we've actually had snows that will be bigger than this one and not had advisories across many of our zones. So this is more of a heads up because the grounds are so cold and we already have some frozen patches here and there. Now we're going to add maybe a coating at best around town and these shaded areas. So this isn't a big snow maker. It's not one that's going to cause extreme issues across town, but nonetheless, it's more of a heads up there on the roadways because they're just so cold. Anything that falls, it catches. Still in the 20s, it's not going to really rise that much more. Right there in the upper 20s to around 30 degrees across the region. Now, off towards your weekend, we get rid of these 20s and we actually bring in some 50s. And I'll show you how far we go into the 50s because it's kind of music to the ears. I think everybody wants to see that. Coming up in your 7-day in about 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll see you then, and here's some more news.
It's been nearly 2 years since Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis was murdered along the Mountain Parkway.
Today, Kentucky State Police talked with the media about their efforts to find Ellis's killer and how they're hoping the public will be able to help out. WKYT's Kristen Kennedy is in Bardstown with our top story here at 12:30. Kristen?
There were more than a dozen uniformed men standing here this morning showing their support in this plea for information. Investigators have been searching for the person responsible for Officer Ellis's murder for almost 20 months now. They're calling their investigation so far frustrating. They haven't arrested anyone. They haven't named any individuals they're looking for, and right now they say they have no good leads. May 25th, 2013, Bardstown police say someone ambushed Officer Ellis on an exit ramp on the Bluegrass Parkway. Investigators told us someone shot him while he was moving tree limbs off the ramp. Some believe the killer targeted Officer Ellis. Some also believe there's more than one person involved.
If they'll attack those that are tasked with protecting our communities, what would they do to just the motoring public? And the answer is anything they want.
Investigators also mentioned a second unsolved murder case that they're working, the Netherlands murder from last year. They say they've not forgotten about that mother and her daughter, and they're still continuing to investigate any tips that come in that case. In Bardstown, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Kristen, thank you. And of course, referring to Kathy Netherland and her daughter Samantha, who were killed in their Nelson County home last April. No arrests have been made in that. Barb?
A judge in Kentucky has granted a divorce to a same-sex couple despite the fact that the state doesn't recognize gay marriage. The Courier-Journal reports the ruling by Jefferson Family Court Judge Joseph O'Reilly is the first of its kind in the state. Lawyers argued that the women should be able to divorce in Kentucky where they live now instead of having to move back to Massachusetts where they were married. O'Reilly said in his ruling that not allowing the divorce would violate a guarantee in the state constitution that all people should be treated as equals.
A woman has died more than a week after being hit by a car on a busy Lexington road. The Fayette County Coroner's Office says 57-year-old Susan Buckman died yesterday at UK Hospital. The coroner says she died from multiple blunt force injuries. Back on January 3rd, investigators say Buckman was trying to cross Winchester Road at Stater Drive when an SUV hit her. Investigators have ruled the death as an accident.
3 people from out of state are in jail in Lexington accused of credit card forgery. 2 of the people are from Georgia. 1 is from New York. Police say they had more than 50 cards in their possession that had stolen credit information uploaded on them. All 3 will be arraigned today on several charges, including possession of a forged instrument. And Lexington police arrested a fugitive from another state. LaMarcus Donnelly was arrested yesterday on Augusta Drive. Police say he was wanted for armed robbery in Mississippi.
Former Kentucky Supreme Court Justice Will T. Scott made it official today and jumped into the Republican race for governor. The 67-year-old Scott, who is from Pike County, is billing himself as a conservative choice in the race. He picked another Eastern Kentuckian, former Menifee County Sheriff Rodney Coffey, to be his running mate. Scott's entry means the GOP will at least have a three-way primary, expected to include State Agriculture Commissioner James Comer and former Louisville Council member Hal Heiner.
A French police official says investigators are urgently tracing the source of financing of the three gunmen who carried out last week's deadly attacks in Paris. Sources tell CBS News that one of the brothers who attacked the Charlie Hebdo magazine last week received $20,000 from al-Qaeda in Yemen to finance the attacks. Police confirm they're searching for 6 other people who may be members of the same terror cell.
President Obama invited congressional leaders to the White House this morning so that the two sides could sit down and discuss some areas to see what they might see eye to eye on. Craig Boswell is at the White House with details about the meeting.
Congressional leaders made their way to the White House Tuesday. The faces are the same, but the dynamic is different. This is their first meeting with President Obama since Republicans took full control of Congress, and now they have to figure out how to work together.
The key now is for us to work as a team to make sure that we build on this progress.
Both sides have talked about reforming the tax system, promoting trade, and granting new authorization for the use of military force against ISIS.
The events in Paris last week remind us just how real that terrorism threat is.
While there are a handful of issues where Democrats and Republicans may find common ground, Congress started the year with several bills the president promises to veto.
This legislation that we're considering is a jobs bill.
The Senate is currently debating a bill to authorize the Keystone XL pipeline.
The Republicans' highest priority is the approval of a pipeline project to benefit one company, a Canadian company, to create 35 permanent jobs.
And House Republicans have plans to use a measure funding the Department of Homeland Security to roll back President Obama's recent action on immigration. Craig Boswell, CBS News, the White House.
And Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid did not make the White House meeting because he is still recovering from that accident that he sustained over the Christmas break.
Facebook users in the U.S. will soon receive Amber Alerts to help find missing children who may be located near them. Facebook is working with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to send the alerts to users' mobile phones if they're in a search area where a child has been abducted. Facebook says several children have been reunited with their families as a result of information shared on the site.
Well, having a positive childhood may provide health benefits down the road.
And ultrasounds may be the key to early detection and prevention of heart attacks and strokes in developing countries. Ebony Williams has details in this Better Living report.
A new study finds only a few doctors in rural America are able to properly treat the growing problem of opioid abuse. Researchers from the University of Washington found more than half of U.S. counties, most of them in rural areas, do not have doctors qualified to dispense the medication necessary for effective treatment. According to the CDC, prescription opioid pain relievers such as OxyContin and Vicodin were involved in nearly 15,000 overdose deaths in 2008. Ultrasounds may be the key to early detection and prevention of heart attacks and strokes in developing countries. In a study in the global heart, researchers in India were able to detect plaque in the arteries of 24% of patients before symptoms appeared. The study also found doctors with no prior experience could be trained quickly to use the devices. And people with positive childhoods may have better heart health later in life. A study in the journal Circulation says factors like growing up in a family that's financially secure, emotionally stable, and physically healthy are strong indicators of good cardiovascular health in adulthood. Researchers say those people are more likely to be normal weight, not to smoke, and have healthy glucose levels. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Ebony Williams, CBS News, New York.